5-star reviews, but we thought sharing memories of our families growing up is part of what makes Sears Heating and Cooling great. So from our families to yours, please call us for any needs you have. 614-475-1800.
Today's business suddenly looks different. So at Tansky Sawmill Toyota, we've launched our new online Buy From Home program. See for yourself at express.tanskysawmilltoyota.com how you can safely buy a car from home. And just remember, when you think Toyota, think Tansky.
Portions of the following program were pre-recorded.
More live, real-time news, traffic, weather, and sports updates than anyone. Your Gotta Know Now station. News Radio 610. WTVN, your station for news, traffic, and weather in Central Ohio. News Radio 610 WTVN, Columbus. WOTC HD2 Asheville, an iHeartRadio station.
From ABC News, I'm Dave Packard. President Trump continued pushing states to reopen faster, some states telling the White House they still don't have the resources to do that. To Washington and ABC's Andy Field.
The president suggesting states aren't moving quick enough to test and get people back to work.
We've already built sufficient testing capacity nationwide.
But the president's infectious disease expert, Dr. Anthony Fauci, says he has been in doctors' positions where it looks different.
And I know what it means when someone tells you, hey, you have what you need, and you look around and you say, well, maybe you think I have what I need, but I don't really have what I need.
Dr. Fauci says they're trying to remove the roadblocks. Andy Field, ABC News, Washington.
State leaders remained concerned that President Trump's push to reopen the country could cause a potential second wave of infections if done too early. But protesters frustrated with the lockdowns taking to the streets.
The president saying states like Minnesota, Virginia, and Michigan should be liberated. And without giving specifics, saying some state restrictions have gone too far. The president appearing to side with protesters who are desperate to get back to work and are ignoring the White House's own social distancing recommendations as they demand stay-at-home orders be lifted.
ABC's Trevor Ault. In New York State, Governor Andrew Cuomo minutes ago reporting 540 new deaths in that state and that the rate of coronavirus hospitalizations continues to drop. Cuomo says he needs more testing before he can move to reopen his state. With the rising number of Americans being furloughed or losing their jobs altogether, millions of Americans are having to turn to food banks. Robert Lee, founder and CEO of Rescuing Leftover Cuisine, says since the outbreak, needs have been enormous.
And so we've seen a huge increase in the people who need food right now. People have been reaching out to us via Yelp, in Spanish and English and various languages, just asking us where can they get food.
You're listening to ABC News.
Ohio Governor Mike DeWine making it clearer that some businesses could start to reopen May 1st, provided the right safeguards for employees and customers are in place.
This is just common sense, and it's good business, and it's taking what we have learned so far and taking those best practices and putting them into effect.
And that means social distancing will have to continue along with people wearing masks while they're out in public. Doctors and nurses from the Cleveland Clinic are heading to New York City to fight the COVID-19 pandemic. Officials say health systems in areas hit hard by the virus have been reaching out. The state of Michigan also has asked the clinic for help in Detroit. United Airlines flew the workers to New York for free. A trucking company in southwest Ohio doing its job to help during the pandemic.
If anybody who works at Cincinnati-based Total Quality Logistics is asked how they helped out during this pandemic, they'll have a lot to say. TQL, which is the second biggest freight broker in the United States, has a Moves That Matter program in which it delivers donated medical equipment and consumer goods at no cost. Example, surgical masks to a hospital in New York, 60,000 bottles of water to the New York Harvest Food Bank. And if you know of a company that has a load of goods that might qualify for Moves That Matter, TQL asks that you visit its website. I'm Matt Reese.
And a dental lab in Independence outside Cleveland will start producing testing swabs for COVID-19. Rowe Dental Laboratory using 3D printers to make the products. They say they can do it because the demand for dental molds they make has gone down. For more on the coronavirus, go to the iHeartRadio app and tap the podcast tab. I'm Tom Moore.
Filling your news feed with the top trending news at the top and bottom of the hour. Columbus's news is on News Radio 610 WTVN.
Right now, there are young people across the world facing a tough choice. Continue their dream of education or drop out to help their family put food on the table. You can help change their future in a single moment. See how far your support can go at unbound.org.
Talking about the coronavirus with children and teens can be overwhelming for caregivers. The Child Mind Institute has provided the following guidance to help alleviate some stress and anxiety. Don't be afraid to discuss the coronavirus. Be developmentally appropriate. Be reassuring. Focus on what you're doing to stay safe. Stick to routine and have ongoing conversations. Visit childmind.org for resources, support, and daily Facebook Live sessions with child psychologists. childmind.org.
Keep your office securely connected, plus get a reliable guest Wi-Fi network. Right now, bundle whole business Wi-Fi to your WOW business internet service and save $10. Get seamless coverage and the ability to support hundreds of devices so you can conduct business without interruption. Raise your expectations with WOW whole business Wi-Fi. Business.com. For new customers, 2-year agreement required, subject to change. Restrictions apply.
Live from LAPD Firearms Range and Training Facility, this is On Target, the latest from the firearms industry, the products and politics that affect your hobby and liberty. This program may not be politically correct, but it is On Target. Now, your host, Eric Delbert.
Good afternoon. Welcome to On Target. We're broadcasting live from the studios of LAPD Firearms Range and Training Facility. That's located at 999 Bethel Road. I'm here, Derek, along with my father, Phil. He sits here to my left. Guys, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to talk about this yet. And Ed, I don't think you know. And JC, I don't think you know. We did something really super cool this week. We got asked, in the midst of all this craziness going on, we got asked to do something for a local company who has had a food truck for a number of years. Okay, the company is known as Meatball Mafia. Okay, kind of, I think the brothers are from Youngstown, have a little heritage in the Italian side of the family.
And the Mafia side too. Youngstown.
Well, right.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with Youngstown.
So they're opening up a store or a restaurant. It's going to be in Hilliard. I think there's going to be a bunch of different restaurants in like a food court type area. Well, a company approached us and said that they are doing the reconstruction of the area for them, and they have a door that goes from the main dining area to the kitchen, and they wanted to know if we could put a couple bullet holes in it.
Right up your alley, Eric. Right up your alley.
Well, yeah.
Do they want to bring the door here, or we have to go there?
No, they brought it here last week. Wow. So, yeah, going there, it was problematic.
Well, that's no fun.
So we took it a step further, and they really left it up to us and our creativity. And we took a couple days to think about it and put it together, and wow, did it turn out neat. We not only put a couple bullet holes in this door, we pulled out some period-specific firearms, ones that you might think of when you think of the Mafia, and use those guns. So we utilized a World War I, JC, 1911, my own personal one that's never been fired. We put a couple rounds in that. We had a suppressed .22, like a little, a hitman's gun, that we put a couple rounds in the window of it with that. It was a plexiglass window. We also used a shotgun. We had a 410 shotgun. We did a blast of that on the door. We had, you ready for this, JC? We had a Thompson full auto.
Nice.
That we put a spray across the door with. And then, John, you better sit down because I can't even believe I did what I did. But we took out the Ruby gun that we've never fired.
You did.
Really?
The Jack Ruby's gun.
Jack Ruby, who was rumored to be in those realm of people. And we fired 3 shots from the Ruby gun into the door.
Wow. That was a Model 36.
Pre-36, right. A Chief Special, right.
Yeah.
So
that's incredible.
It is definitely it's going to be a conversation piece, and hopefully they'll call in this week or next week and stuff. But look for them to open up as soon as we get through all this. But really kind of a neat thing and a neat opportunity, so we thank those guys for thinking of us. And
wouldn't it just been just as good and a little bit cheaper just to put those little decals on the door?
That was one option. We're actually,
what fun would that be?
We did a little planning for this because I wasn't sure how the door was going to react to it. We didn't want to hit the hinges and so forth. So it was neat. And it's all on video. We're going to put out a little, I think, a 1 or 2 minute video with it here shortly to help promote it. So that was kind of neat, kind of fun thing to do in this time of craziness around every place. We are the owners of LAPD Firearms Range and Training Facility and are active law enforcement. But for 1 hour on Saturdays, we put together a group of firearm experts to discuss new products in the market, training tips, and oftentimes political topics surrounding the Second Amendment. Our commitment, though, has always been to bring you the facts about our industry and ultimately help our listeners and our customers with safe, responsible ownership of firearms. Today on the show, we hope to get to a few new items in the market that we didn't get to last week. And JC has a super cool gun of the week, and that's sponsored by CNS Engraving. That's going to come up here shortly. JC, I wish it was here because it really sounds like a neat one to have here in our possession.
It was so futuristic. Again, 50 years ahead of its time, and it lasted they manufactured it for 100 years. So it's a fantastic gun. Fantastic.
Yep. So that's going to be coming up here shortly. And then at the bottom of the hour, we're going to hear from Chad Walsh. Him and his wife own Dead On Arms in Minnesota. He, like most of the country right now, is trying to navigate through the challenging times. He was able to maintain a basic level of operation this past month at his store and range, abiding by all the rules of interaction like we all are. But then he was notified, I think it was last week, that the range portion of his business had to be shut down per an order from the governor of Minnesota. It was interesting, though. It's an interesting dynamic that firearms retailers are considered essential business. We can sell a firearm to a tenured firearm enthusiast or a first-time buyer, but now in Minnesota, there's no means for that person who is new to firearms, who maybe never even handled one, to be trained or otherwise practice. Does it make sense? We want to hear from you and want to hear what your opinion is. And we're certainly going to hear from Chad at the bottom of the hour and what they're planning on doing and what some of the other gun shops in Minnesota are planning. So it's definitely a unique dynamic to think about it. You might not think that the shooting range is essential, but a lot of us would argue that if you're putting a firearm in the hands of a new shooter, that obviously you want that person to be able to handle that firearm in a controlled environment long before they need it for self-defense. That's coming up at 12:30. Before that, Paul, how do your segments always get the attention?
Well, I told you to name names. Why am I now all of a sudden reading the inspirational quotes and everything? And I don't understand that. Tell me who wants me to do that.
And it's time for inspirational quotes
by
Paul.
And I'm supposed to just be spontaneous.
Well, who's got the wisdom here?
Okay.
From the heart.
From the heart. The great body of our citizens shoot less as time goes on. We should encourage rifle practice among schoolboys and indeed among all classes, as well as in the military services by every means in our power. Thus, and not otherwise, may we be able to assist in preserving peace in the world. The first step in the direction of preparation to avert war, if possible, and to be fit for war, if it should come, is to teach men to shoot. That was a quote by Theodore Roosevelt.
And so...
Well, I'm inspired.
So
you are inspired. You know that he was a Republican.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's so true even to today. I mean, with our topic today about practicing and being ready when the time comes. So, all right, Paul, that's another good. We will wait for next week that you're another inspirational.
You know what? I would much rather go back to Paul's pet peeves. You know.
Well, we can probably do that at the end of the show.
It wasn't for the family hour. We'd like to thank our sponsors, Rampart Hosting, Toyota West, Jackson Lawn Care and Egress Windows, the Trigger Group, Blackwing Shooting Center, River's Edge Cutlery, CNS Engraving, Clean Water Systems, and LAPD Training Facility, all who make the show possible each week. Joining me today in the live LAPD studio, JC, you're calling in safe and secure place, but I hate to air this out over all the airways and stuff, but we talked last week very specifically about how in Michigan the governor has come down and said that she has deemed certain businesses or certain items within businesses as non-essential. So garden supplies, if you wanted to plant your flowers now because it's springtime, that's not essential. Sorry. Yep. Painting supplies, same way. But JC.
Well, actually, yes. It's actually paint. You can go to a store, buy rollers, pins, caulk guns, everything that you need, but you can't buy paint. And it's what's in the order. So I have painting to do up here, trying to do this rehab. So I had to do the clandestine. I felt like I was going to a speakeasy in the Roaring '20s, where you call ahead and you pay over the phone, and you roll your car up, and they set a gallon of paint out on the sidewalk. You reach up and grab it, jump in your car, and drive away.
Go on the black market.
You can't go in.
Yep.
Sorry, can't look at paint colors. That's up to you. Try it on. But I mean, it is crazy. But she just specifically said you can't buy paint. So you go into the big box stores, and they have yellow crime tape around their spray paint cans and all their paint. But brushes, rollers, all that stuff, you can get that, but you can't get the paint.
That doesn't make sense. I mean, you're in a store now. I mean,
Right.
you're going to buy the rollers. Why can't you reach over and buy
Do you know what
gallon
I
of
had
paint?
to do for a box of Girl Scout cookies this year?
What's that?
I can't say, but I got some. Actually, my wife set it up. It's just craziness. My father and co-owner sits to my left. Papa, quick, in 30 seconds are left. We had a listener, again, asking you a question, knowing you're a revolver man. If you had to recommend a .357 Magnum revolver, what would you recommend to the individual?
Well, the brand would be Smith & Wesson.
Oh, that's
no doubt Smith & Wesson. To me, that's the best revolver around. As far as barrel length, 4-inch, I wouldn't go much longer than that. And I would go with the classic ones, Model 19, Model 28, 29.
Can't beat them.
You can't. I mean, right
But
here.
wait a
This is
minute. Did I not hear him say Model 10? I'm
He was
sorry.
just getting ready to. He was just getting ready to.
Well, but a Model 10 is not a 357
he's
Magnum.
fondling one right
you
now.
want a 357. Okay.
And the thing is
All
that
right, my fault.
and the Smith & Wesson Model 10 that I have right here, which is a 38 Special, is old, it's beat up, but very, very functional.
Yep.
It's a nice weapon. So that's what I would do. Now there's some very good new Smith & Wesson models out there, which I don't know of right now. I mean, we have them, but I don't know the model numbers.
Yep.
They're all excellent, but the older ones are the heavier steel. The newer ones are all the lightweight alloys and all this other stuff, which I don't particularly care for.
Right.
Right. So, anyways, that's what I would recommend.
I don't know. I'm seeing real quick that Papa might need his own show. My good friend Big Ed sits to our right. Good seeing you, Ed.
Good afternoon.
Yep.
I'm
good.
glad to be here today. Oh, listen, just want to. This is very important. Cindy Lukens just checked in.
Yes.
And she said hello, and she's been waiting all week to see us. And she told me to tell you and Pawpaw, and you too, JC, to be nice to Big Ed.
We are. Whoa. We are nice to you, Big Ed.
Obviously, Cindy thinks you're not.
She's picking up on that. She's picking up what we're putting down, Ed.
I have yet to meet the lady, and she's already protecting me. So
yes,
well, you know what? It must be where you're sitting, because we always would give Ronnie
that chair.
Yeah, so it's
got to be the chair. Yeah.
Big Ed sits to our right, and Stefan, of course, a good friend of ours for a long time, and he is the one who answers you on Facebook. If you have a question on Facebook, we're looking at it right now. We're live on Facebook, a great place to watch the show.
We are.
And during the commercials, Ed will talk to you and answer some of the questions as well. So it's a great place to watch it. If you missed the show, the podcast is out there on 610WTVN.com. Also on iHeartRadio, iTunes, and Google Podcast. And speaking of Facebook, we did something this week. We identified there's been a lot of people coming in who are purchasing guns for the first time, and we felt necessary to put something out where a venue out where we could have shooters who are new to the industry ask us questions kind of in a live format. So Denise and I, we put together a Facebook Live. It was at noon on this past Monday. And we just rolled with, questions that came in, basic stuff about how to load and safely handle firearms, and I mean just some of the high-level basics. We had great feedback from it. A lot of people asking questions, and I think we're going to do it again this Monday and focus in on if you are new to firearms, if you're just considering your first one, some things to think about. So and features. So it was great. I mean, Dee did really good, and it was really well received. So watch for that again this Monday at noon. Having said that, it is. Let's see what else is here going on. Oh, guys, as we've said it all along, as the governor and the president as things have evolved, we're going to evolve the business as well. We're still open Tuesday through Saturday right now, 11 until 4. and we are anticipating in early May now opening that up a little bit and actually hopefully opening up the range to some degree. So it's not going to be like it was. It's going to be, maybe every other lane or some shortened version of our normalcy. It just so happens, JC, it's going to be on May 5th. So I'm just thinking maybe it should be, the Cinco de Mayo Corona celebration or something. But is that not good, JC?
I think it sounds good to me. A couple of Coronas sound good to me right now.
Was that right to say, Eric? Hey, can I reach out to somebody?
Sure.
I want to reach out to my lovely wife, Linda.
What'd he do?
No. The other day, if anybody knows me, I tease a lot, but I'm very serious looking when I tease. And I said something about washing hands and everything, but she doesn't fill up the containers, which was, it was obviously teasing. But she's a remarkable lady, and right now, she does our LEOSA retired officers.
Yep.
Right now, she's trying to get 40 of them scheduled. We've been kind of backlogged on that, and she does a great job there. She is a neat lady because I've been married to her for going on 52 years.
Wow.
Isn't that something?
Wow.
Yep.
Maybe at this point you know how to fill up your own soap bottle.
Well, yeah.
Maybe that's the core of what we're getting at here, Paul.
There's some things that a man just doesn't do. I don't do toilets, okay?
Although you do the range one quite a bit.
Yeah, I know.
When we come back from the break, we're going to get to some news stories from JC and JC's Gun of the Week. We're on Target. We're broadcasting live from the studios of LEPD Firearms and Range. We'll be right back after the break.
iHeartRadio.
Hey, Facebook fans, how are we doing today? Hello, Jill Reardon, checking in. I remember you quite well from your Hills race up there with the township. And I know your husband. He's a funny guy. Zane Donaldson, you're from Pennsylvania, I believe, Zane, and you're cracking on Pennsylvania? Mm-hmm. The governor up there is kind of strange. Chris, thanks for checking in, and we thank you for watching us on the show. And you're welcome. We enjoy doing the show. Chris Jenkins, how you doing, buddy? Paul is another one who thinks Michigan is nuts. Paul, you're right. Of course, we've felt that way in Ohio for quite some time.
What's your temp, Em?
It is 46.
No. You ain't going to eat potato chips on air.
Unfortunately.
Do you really think that's a good idea?
I don't see any of my family members checking in here on Facebook. I don't understand this. They all said they would.
Why don't you get yourself a cup of ice?
Is this Nature granola bar for me?
Oh, Jesus.
Thanks. All right.
Well, I guess the song I chose to come back to is going to be apropos.
Tom McTurner's checking in. How are you, Tom?
You're not going first this week.
Oh. I'm not going first this week. Well, you're going to have to wait to the second one.
I have to take turns with you two.
I know. Pawpaw decided now is the time to get a bag of chips and eat it while on air. How's that going to go, Em?
Your show. I just push the buttons.
Just block him out, Emily.
Here at BC6, first warning weather. For today, clouds this morning give way to an afternoon sunshine, dry and cool, high of 53. For tonight, mostly clear and cold. Patchy frost is possible once again. Cover those roses, low of 37. For Sunday, cloudy and milder with scattered rain late in the day, high of 56. Currently 46 degrees on your severe weather station, News Radio 610 WTVN.
The news, traffic, and weather station. News Radio 610 WTVN.
There's something happening here. What it is ain't exactly clear. There's a man with a gun over there, telling me I got to beware. I think it's time we stop, children. What's that?
Pablo, I think one of these days we're just going to go for spinning the tunes. Enough with the nonsense of talking. Just go spinning the tunes. Hey, someone chimed in on Facebook. Did you see that, Ed? Someone chimed in. This is in relation to Paul and your potato chip here.
Oh, what?
He's a crunchety old man.
I am not crunching.
That was Tom McTurner, by the way.
Well,
he
yeah,
would know.
he's a good one. Yeah, right. He's a good one.
Former range employee Tom McTurner, right there.
Former.
Hey, Tom. So welcome back to On Target. I'm your host, Derek, joined today with my father and co-owner, Phil. He sits to my left. Big Ed, our good friend for a long, long time, sits to my right, and he's running the Facebook page. JC is calling in a safe location. JC, speaking of JC, I know there's a couple stories out there. What do you have for us? What are you seeing out there in this time?
We got you'd think there wouldn't be as much news, but there's a lot of news. This is a big one. A federal judge in Nevada has made a ruling that can cause all of us to skip a beat a little bit. But and this, by the way, I'm getting this from Courthouse News Service. Gun makers must face wrongful death claims over the Las Vegas shooting. And this is the one that occurred in 2017 where the guy used a dozen ARs with bump stocks, and he was up in the Mandalay Bay Casino Hotel and opened up, killing 58 people and wounding, I guess, a couple hundred more at that time. So one of the families took it in. And basically, the gun industry has been protected, along with this is specific to the gun industry. But there's an act that was passed called the Protection of Lawful Commerce in Arms Act, the PLCAA. And what that means is, just because someone gets shot by a thug with a .38, you can't go, well, who made that gun? We're going to sue you for the death of this person. And they said basically, if it wasn't for this, all gun makers would be out of business in less than 18 months. And I mean, seriously, all would be gone. So they've had this act because you can't tell what a criminal does. You can't sue Ford because someone drove their Ford and ran over your neighbor and killed him, and the neighbor can't sue them because it's a Ford. I mean, that's how it kind of works. But on this particular case, a federal judge who, guess what, is an Barack Obama appointee, Judge Andrew Gordon, in a 15-page order found out that Colt Manufacturing and other gun makers, it was Colt et al. Because many of the guns, of the dozen guns, were not Colts, that were used in the mass shooting could not dodge a lawsuit. And it was, the attorneys for Colt basically saying, look, we can't be held liable. We're protected against firearms manufacturers and sellers for damages related to a third party's, a criminal's misuse of a firearm. That's what the law is for. But the judge found in his order that because it was so easy to modify AR-15s to put this bump stock on, that they had said he said in his finding that it was reasonably foreseeable for the manufacturers to see that these bump stocks could cause the guns to fire like a machine gun. So this is scary. Now, he didn't rule that they were. What he ruled was that this case can go forward to the Nevada courts. But he said the Parsons, that's who's suing, Parsons' negligence claim is premised on the defendant's violations of federal and state prohibitions of machine guns, because part of the law on machine guns said that any firearm that can be readily converted into full automatic would fall under a machine gun as it's listed under the NFA Act. And so he said, he dropped the negligence charges. They filed 2 negligence charges, but said that they could, in his opinion, they could sue for wrongful death.
So, JC,
makes any AR that you can put a bump stock on, which were not illegal at that time, but that is what his ruling was. And this sent chills up my spine when it goes into a court system to see, because if manufacturers can be sued, now this is a particular case where a bump stock was used to convert an AR.
Which bump stops are no longer even sold or allowed. I mean, they're against the law now, so.
Well, yeah, but how many are out there? What have they done in this back case, and where does this go? As someone said, look, this doesn't make it like, hey, every AR is a machine gun, but if you make something that's readily convertible, and you have to admit, you had to take off the old stock, pop on the bump stock. We've all seen people have had those back when it was legal, and basically that is what he's ruling. So it sends chills down my spine because of people going, what? We could make ARs be like machine guns, and all of them have to be registered under the NFA, and all that mess. You can only imagine. There's, 17 million of them in the United States. But that one really sent a chill up my spine, and that was a ruling that just happened about 1 week ago.
And JC, the craziness about that, the craziness is we've all seen it. You can bump fire a handgun. I mean, you
can.
You can bump fire a lot of firearms. I mean, it's crazy. It's just it doesn't make sense, and it's hopefully.
As a kid, we put rubber bands on a Marlin 60.
Right.
and burned through
Well,
13 rounds in about 1 second. Yeah.
In this day and age, anybody can sue anybody else, and
that's the problem.
And the pathetic part of this is that you can be totally in the right, you can not be guilty at all, and the court can come out in favor of you, but look at the money you have to spend to defend yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's only the attorneys who end up making it on these.
I could sue Ed because I don't like his looks, and then he has to spend money to defend himself.
Yep. It's crazy, and it doesn't matter. And they never get to the point where if you sue him and you lose, that you have to pay. I mean, for some reason that doesn't work.
Well, you know what? That's a law, though.
I know.
That is a law that if you have a frivolous lawsuit against somebody, that you're subject to be paying the court fine and the other person's defense.
Right. All right, JC. Now that you got us all fired up, when we come back from the break, we're going to get to Chad Walsh, owner of Dead on Arms, and hear his story. It's an interesting one, to say the least. We're on Target, broadcasting live from the studios of LEPD Firearms Range. We're right back after the news.
iHeartMedia knows small businesses across the country are facing new challenges during the COVID-19 pandemic. So to help, we've put together the iHeartRadio Small Business Crisis Resource, which has critical information, including links to federal and state resources, providing businesses with stimulus loans, grants, and other financial aid. We also shine a spotlight on small businesses doing good right now. Visit smallbusinesscrisisresource.com to learn more. That's Small Business Crisis.
You talking that or what? You going to talk? Why? Well, because you're eating. You guys can't take an hour out of your day. Hate to have to yell at you both. You're on.
Oh, good. Where's my fans at? Check in. Tell your friends.
What is he eating?
Em, I've lost control. We tried to run a reputable show here, and it just...
I didn't think you could notice.
Oh, my Lord. These mics are so sensitive.
Phil gave me a nature granola bar, and I think it's 75 years old.
No food on the set.
Oh, Cindy's checking in. She's saying she loves me now. I love you too, Cindy. So there, Eric.
You need Big Ed fan club T-shirts made.
I think we do. I think that's a grand idea.
Sell them in the store for profit.
Big Ed T-shirts. What do you think, Cindy? Would that go over? I think it would too.
Nothing on our caller yet there, Em?
No, not yet.
Oh, that stinks.
Did you tell him to call in at a certain time?
Did you say Eastern time?
Yup.
Where's he live?
Minnesota.
Maybe he snowed in.
I saw that out there, Mr. Moore.
Yeah.
I like snacks.
Derek wants to know.
I like snacks, just not during the hours of noon to 1 on Saturdays.
He put it there. I had to do something. I didn't want to offend him. I just took one little bite of it.
You have 30 seconds. I'll hop in your ear or message you.
Okay, I'm going to go to JC's Gun of the Week then until he calls.
Live from LAPD Firearms Range and Training Facility, this is On Target, the latest from the firearms industry, the products and politics that affect your hobby and liberty. This program may not be politically correct, but it is On Target. Now, your host, Eric Delbert.
Welcome back to On Target. I'm your host, Eric, joined today in the LAPD studios. My good friend Ed sits to my right. My father is in the house somewhere, probably eating, because you know, you can't expect someone to take an hour out of your day on Saturday and not eat.
It is lunchtime.
Oh, my word. And JC is on the line with us from a safe, secure location. As we wait for our guest to call in, JC, do you want to talk about a gun of the week? Do you have a gun of the week this week, JC?
I think he does. JC, you there?
All right, we've never covered this, and we should have. It certainly deserves it. This was a gun so far into the future, people said it was 50 years ahead of its time. The gun of the week is a lever-action hunting rifle. It is the just exquisite Savage 99. The Savage 99 came out in 1899, hence its designation, but was made for 100 years, and over 1 million of them are manufactured. Let me just tell you some brief things about this rifle, what makes it so unique. Again, 1890s. Think of what the lever-action guns looked like back then. I mean, the ubiquitous Winchester 94. Everybody had a hammer. Well, this gun was a slim, flat, hammerless design that did not have a tube underneath it to load the cartridges in. It had a spring-loaded internal rotary magazine, which was the first of its type. Well, actually, the 1895, which only made about 5,000 or 6,000 of, which was also a Savage, was the first one to use it. But this line is the first one to use an internal rotary magazine. We think of the Ruger 22 with its internal rotary magazine and how cool that is. Well, this came out in the 1890s. It had a spring-loaded, the first one that had a spring-loaded coil spring, I should say, firing pin. So everybody else was using hammers back then. Well, this one was just like the modern firing pin with a coil spring on it, which gave faster lock times, again, for better accuracy. It was the first lever-action gun that had a cocking indicator on the top of it. So when the gun was cocked, the button popped up, you could feel it. And it also had, and this amazed me, it had a brass shot counter, a wheel that was connected with the rotary magazine that would tell you how many rounds were left in the gun. So you look on the left side of it, you have 1 or 2 rounds left. It told you. I found that pretty much amazing for back in the time. So it also was a side ejectant. When I said side, it was at an angle. It didn't do a 90 degree on the side, but you could put a scope on it. When you think about it, the very popular and still popular Winchester 94, that was a top ejecting along with all other Winchesters until 1983 when they put an angle eject on the Winchester 94 so you could put a scope on it. But they had that back in the 1890s with this Savage. It had a massive bolt, very powerful lockup, very strong lockup, more than the other guns, and so much so that they could actually use some bottleneck cartridges in it that had a lot higher pressures. So and over this time period, they made 16 different models of the Savage 99, and it was chambered in at least 15 different calibers. Just absolutely amazing. Just real briefly on 2 of the calibers. One of them, the old days, in 1915, they came out with their 250 Savage, 25 caliber Savage, but it was called the 25-3000. It was the first cartridge in America to exceed the commercial cartridges exceed 3,000 feet per second back in 1915. And then their next one, they necked it up to a 30 caliber and had the 300 Savage. And the importance on that one is that is what the military used 30 years later to develop the 308 Winchester cartridge.
Wow.
Because that little Savage cartridge is almost as powerful as a 30-06,
Hey,
way back in
JC.
1920.
Hey, John, I have to ask, do you own that rifle?
Well, I happen to have that rifle in a miniaturized version when I was 10, 11 years old, instead of a plastic car model, I bought plastic gun models, and with the skill of a tube of Tester's paint, or Tester's glue, pardon me, and I glued together a 1 foot long Savage 99 that worked, and I still have that hanging in my basement gun room. So yes, I have a Savage 99, but it's plastic and it's 1 foot long.
Good gun of the week, JC. We need to really see one and hold one. And it goes to the ingenuity back then. You look at some of these things. How many things can you say that are over 100 years old and still functional today? It just goes to show you how far ahead of the times they were at that time. Good gun of the week. Next week, I will have the gun of the week. We're going to jump to a quick break and come back with our guest, Chad Walsh from Dead On Arms. We're on Target, broadcasting live from the studios of LAPD Firearms and Range. We'll be right back after the break.
Here at Sears Heating and Cooling, we are aware of these challenges.
Chad Howell, how you doing, buddy? Mike Conley's wanting to know if we got any ammunition. We have plenty of 9mm. Come on in, Mike. 11 to 4, Monday through Friday. Chris Francia, haven't heard or talked to you in quite a while. Old high school buddy, how are you, Chris? Hope all is well with you and your family. Saw somebody checking in.
You still pimping your shirts, Ed?
Hey, I've gotten a lot of people said that they'd wear that shirt. I think we're gonna have to have those made up.
What are they going to say? I love Big Ed? Or
well, hey, they can say whatever you want as long as it's got Big Ed on there.
Take Big Ed off probation?
That would work too.
Maybe you need to start like a Facebook.
He's still on probation?
Yeah, can you believe that?
Maybe we need to. Your ABC 6 first warning weather. Today, clouds this morning gives way to afternoon sunshine, dry and cool. High of 53. Tonight, mostly clear and cold. Patchy frost is possible, though. Might need to cover the roses one more night. Low of 37. Sunday, cloudy and milder with scattered rain late in the day. High of 56. Currently, 46 degrees on your severe weather station News Radio 610 WTVN.
News Radio 610 WTVN.
Welcome back to On Target. I'm your host, Eric. You know what song that was? You know who wrote that song, Pawpaw?
I don't know, but I think it was all boggled up.
Huh?
No, it was fine. How could you
it was
tell?
fine.
You, don't have
You
your
probably
on.
couldn't hear over your
Or the
potato chips. The artist on that, guys, and I'm just saying this is coincidental. Bad Company.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Kind of like Pawpaw.
I'm not saying. I'm just saying that's the artist. I'm not passing any judgment here. So
now you're ganging up on me.
Well, yeah. You don't have that headset on. You're fair game.
Okay.
Guys, our next guest fulfilled a lifelong ambition to open a gun store and range. I think we've heard that somewhere, Pawpaw. Opening it with his wife. They did this just 4 years ago.
He should have contacted you before he did that.
No, it's been a good thing. He had previously owned other companies, been in law enforcement and in the military, and is now the proud owner of a successful business called Dead On Arms in Minnesota. They, like most of the country, are navigating through these challenging times. He was able to maintain a basic level of operation, similar to what we're doing this past month, and abiding by all the rules, the interactions with customers, the safe distancing, all of that. But then he was notified that the range portion of his business had to be shut down per the order of the governor of Minnesota. As a matter of fact, this came by way of a call from the sheriff in his town. While his initial reaction was to fight, like many of us would do, and Popo, how many times have we been there with these things?
Oh, yeah.
You know, soon you realize that as a small business, it's just too ominous of a task to take on the government yourself. It's an interesting dynamic. Firearms retailers are considered essential business. We can sell a firearm to a tenured enthusiast or to a first-time buyer. And like Chad will tell you, we've sold so many firearms in this last month to first-time buyers. But now in Minnesota, that first-time buyer who may not know how to load the firearm and certainly has no practice firing it is being told that that's not essential for you to get on the range. We beg to differ, and today we welcome Chad Walsh to the show. How are you doing, Chad?
Hey, doing great. How you doing, guys?
We can't complain. We can't complain. Tell us a little bit about your business. I mean, when we talked the other day, you guys sound very similar to LEPD, family-run business. Trying to get by, fulfilling a dream. Tell us how you got to opening up your store.
Yeah, I always wanted to own an indoor shooting range. Even when I was a police officer, I always thought, there's no place to shoot up here, and where are people going to shoot in their backyards? That's not safe. So we went on about, saved up for many years. Even it was a little fight at first. Not everybody wants a range in their area, so we're out in the country, 10 miles away from town. But we got the okay. We struggled a little bit to get it built, and we got it. And we're pretty excited that we've made it a goal. And when this came down a couple weeks ago from the governor, I was amazed that I was like, how can this even be?
Right, because you share. I mean, and it's not just us and you guys. I mean, it's a lot of the reputable gun stores. You guys share in the belief, like we do, that we're not just here to sell guns and put guns out there, but we're also here to educate. And it's not just about part of your business. You're losing the revenue from the range or from classes. It's an inherent feeling that we're selling firearms to someone who we know isn't proficient in that, and there's an inherent desire to want to help and to get them on the range and show them the right way. So when we talked yesterday, I mean, that's a huge part of this. It's not just about part of the business being closed down.
No, it's not. The big thing is, when we opened this up, I said as a former law enforcement officer, I came across a lot of people who they carried a firearm, but they didn't know even how to use it or what was going to happen when they got into that deadly encounter, how they were going to act. They didn't have the experience. Yeah, they took the class down at so-and-so's place, and they fired the 10 rounds, and now they're going to carry a gun out in public. And I said, wow, they need more training. They need training to learn what happens in that situation.
Right.
Cops get that training, but the public does not. So it is very, very important, especially for all these first-time gun owners. And over the last month, gun sales are up 300%, and 200% of that is the first-time buyer.
Right.
So the guy that walks in and says, I need a pistol for home defense. And I say, no, you don't, sir. You need a shotgun. But my neighbor says a pistol's the best thing for home defense, and then I got to educate him a little bit as to why the shotgun would be the better option.
And the thing, too, Chad, I mean, you were operating safely. I mean, you had your range operating in a smaller capacity because of everything going on. And when this came down, I mean, was it initially allowed okay, or how did that come about, and what are you hearing now from the other stores?
So when it first came down, when he first issued an executive order, it came down that gun clubs could not be open, but ranges were fine. It didn't say indoor ranges. It just said gun clubs. Well, then he came out with a second executive order that said gun ranges need to be closed, pursuant to the Minnesota statute, which is 624-7192, which covers what the governor's powers are towards firearms in a disaster or emergency time. And it clearly states in that statute that he cannot curtail the lawful use of a firearm.
Right.
It clearly states in there that.
So,
but the governor seems to think that we give up all of our rights because of an emergency.
And Chad, not that it has anything to do with anything, but it's always good to see the full picture. And I don't know this firsthand, but the governor of Minnesota, has he traditionally been a supporter of the Second Amendment? Has he been anti-gun? I mean, what's his traditional beliefs been?
He's not a supporter of the Second Amendment. He's not a supporter. Even though he was in the National Guard, he's not showing that he supports people's rights, their First Amendment rights, their Second Amendment rights. He's not showing that. We don't give up our rights because of a pandemic. What happened to our Bill of Rights? What happened to the right to assemble? What happened to the right to have the freedom of speech? What happened to the Second Amendment right The lawful use of a firearm, it clearly states in that statute. You cannot curtail that. That's limit or restrict.
Right. So where do you go from here? I mean, when we talked initially, and one of the early articles that I saw, I mean, just like we would, your first reaction is to fight, but then you slowly realize that you're a small business, you're fighting the bigger entity. I mean, is there any strength in numbers with other stores in Minnesota, or what are you hearing now?
Yeah, we're working with other ranges down in Minneapolis. We're up here on northern Minnesota. We're the only range up here. And I'll tell you, when I got the initial phone call from the deputy, it was a sergeant with the local sheriff's department. He was a little threatening, telling me if I didn't shut my store down, my range down, that he was going to come and shut me down. And I advised him, because I was a former law enforcement officer, you don't have that power just to walk around. This is not a dictatorship. You don't have the power just to run around shutting businesses down. It don't work like that. And then when I talked to the sheriff, I asked the sheriff a few questions. It was very cordial towards each other. I asked him, do you work for the governor or do you work for the citizens of this county? Because the governor issues, he says, well, I got to follow that governor's orders. And I said to him, the order is unlawful.
Right.
He clearly does. He does not have the right. He can put anything down on paper he wants, but whether it's lawful is another question.
Right.
And the question is, does the sheriff, who does the sheriff represent? Does he represent us, we the people of this county, or does he just represent the governor?
Right. It's crazy.
Because there's a lot of business owners, not just ranges. There's a lot of business owners and a lot of people that are at the point now saying, you know what? He's not representing we the people.
Right. And we're seeing that not just in Minnesota. We're seeing it in other states. I don't know if you've heard the beginning of the show, but in Michigan, for example, I mean, it's deemed unnecessary to be able to go and buy flowers for your house or nursery needs or paint so. I mean, I think we all want the same result. We want to get beyond this. We will get beyond this, but there has to be a little common sense. And when it comes to firearms, we are essential business. I mean, this is something where people are worried about the protection of their family and themselves, and part of that is being proficient and to safely be an owner of a firearm. And with that, you need the range, and you can do it in a matter where they're 6 feet apart or whatever the case may be. It can be done safely. And we hope there in Minnesota that they see the light. So, will you keep us updated and informed on how that plays out?
I will do that. I want to mention one other big thing, and you can contest to this. When you're out on your range, my range, any range in America, we have a ventilation system. That ventilation system, I can't even breathe on the person if he was standing right next to me, because the ventilation pulls that air completely down range.
You're absolutely right. It's
not like we're standing in the liquor store.
Right. You know what? It's probably one of the safer places. Because of the negative airflow. You're exactly right. I hadn't even thought about that part of it, but you're so right. So, well, thanks for calling in today and taking time out of your schedule. Hang in there, and certainly keep us updated. Let us know if we can support you from this side, and we'll catch up to you soon.
Hey, thank you. You guys have a great day.
Best of luck to you, Chad.
Yeah, you too, Chad. That's Chad Walsh. Him and his wife own Dead Air Arms in Minnesota. I think his wife's Laura, and much of a family-owned business such as we are, and just trying to survive and trying to get through it all. So, what do you guys think, JC?
Well, it's just exactly what he said. It just seems like the sheriff isn't appointed by the governor; they're elected, by the county. And it obviously is a breach when you read. I've read it 5 times. It's a very short article, and it says that even in an emergency situation, he would be nothing should interfere with this right. Yet you have people that in the position going, well, I don't want people to do this. Why would you want people to own guns but yet not train how to use them safely? And real briefly, they set a record in March. They did 3,740,000 NICS checks, and they said most of those, like Chad was saying, are new owners. And if you can't show these people how to safely load, unload, fire the gun, you're asking for trouble, and that is what we do at LAPD and all the other ranges in town. I mean, you train people to do it safely, and why they would curtail that yet up there, but allow them to sell the firearms, it doesn't make sense, and I do think it goes against what their law says in Minnesota. But the courts will tell that, but after the fact, yeah.
All right, guys, I'm going to switch gears a little bit since we have a few minutes left. We never have a few minutes left. We did Gun of the Week, right? We did Paul's inspirational speeches. Ed, you talking to your Facebook fans? You got your T-shirt thing going. Guys, one thing, and I don't. And if I've talked about this already, will you guys raise your hand or tell me? Put your hand down, Paul. Guys, one of the things that we, and this is off topic of all the Corona stuff, but it is something that occurred recently and stuff. We talked about in Ohio, you can have your CCW as a valid form of identification for purchasing a firearm. You don't even have to do the background check now, which I totally disagree with. We had a case recently. Did I talk about this already?
I'm not sure. Where
Okay.
You're going at.
So we had a case. This is just within the last couple of weeks. Gentleman came in, had his CCW that was issued a few months prior, and we still haven't filled out the background check, at which time he was denied. So it's a perfect example that, something came up in this gentleman's background between the time that he got his CCW license, which he physically had in hand. So, Ed, how many times have you pulled someone over and they hand you a driver's license that's suspended, right?
But they hand it to me as if it's valid.
Exactly. But you have the advantage in that case to go back to the cruiser and pull it up and say, wow, we don't have that. They have not.
Should.
Right. They have no way of us knowing that. The other thing, and this is a big pet peeve, the NIC system. And I know right now there's other things that are going on, but we need to fix it. We got a results back from NIC this week. Okay, a denial.
From somebody we sold a gun to already?
No, from somebody that we ran on March 20th.
Whoa.
March 20th. We got the denial back. And that gun could have gone out the door if it wasn't for us saying, you know what, I'm not feeling good about this one. But this much time later, come to find out, he's on probation, they're looking for him and all this stuff.
Nice.
And in the system, in 3 weeks, can't figure out if this guy should own a gun. 3 weeks? Seriously?
I think they have monkeys working that system.
Oh, my word. I tell you what, they need to put it into the private sector. We'd have it fixed. We would have it fixed, and it would be out there. None of this other stuff. We talk about the governor in Northam and all these guys doing all this crazy stuff and banning mags and one gun a month and all this stuff. This is the stuff that we need to fix to stop.
And that would put a big stop to a lot of criminals getting guns.
Exactly. So, guys, that's it for another week. Thanks for joining with us. Check us out noon on Monday for another episode of talking about purchasing your first firearm. I think we're going to talk a little about dry firing, too. I know someone had chimed in about that.
Yep.
And, guys, have a good week. Stay safe. Stay healthy. Paul, start preparing for your inspirational.
I've already got the next one.
Well, that's
Ooh,
great.
Look at that.
I'm looking forward to it.
Go home and put down some mulch.
All right.
No, that's not inspirational. That's labor.
Well, that's inspiring me.
All right, guys. Have a great week. Thanks, JC, for calling in. We'll see you same time, same place next week
Same
on Target.
bat station. Hey, keep me live on Facebook for a minute so I can answer this. Jeff Barley.
Well, we good, Em?
Yeah. These are rolling. I've really got to go to the bathroom.
Okay. Hey, that's okay. Can Ed talk right now?
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead, Ed.
Jeff Barley is wanting to know if we still have the Smith & Wesson M&P package that we had for Valentine's Day. Said he's been emailing and not getting any responses from some people here, but I told him we had.
Who's he emailing?
I don't know. He said everybody. I asked him.
No. I mean, I haven't seen that email come through.
He's got one. You want the M&P 15 package that we had for Valentine's Day special? Do you have any more of those?
Probably not. But if he goes to our website, in the top right-hand corner it says COVID update.
Yep.
And within that, it tells everything that's in stock right now.
Okay.
And also, that form there goes right to the sales team, and they can check on stuff too. So if you go out there and see something in stock, and you say, "Hey, I want that," put it in that little confirmation form there, and we will pull it and set it aside until you get here.
Jeff, I hope you heard that.
Yep, I don't think there's anything.
Make sure that everybody gets what they're looking for.
Yeah, everything Valentine's Day. That stuff is gone. I don't. It must have been a package from
For a minute
Smith &
there, I thought he
Wesson.
was asking about the M&P 40s that we had, but
We still have a bunch of those. Well, we still have several of those.
Right.
It's
right.
definitely gone down a little bit. So
thanks, Mike. I appreciate your compliment for the good show. Well, folks, it's been great talking to you. It's been great seeing you, checking in. Hopefully, we'll see you again next Saturday. Everybody have a nice weekend. Oh.